Imagine a beautiful painting hanging on a wall. From far away, it looks perfect. The colors are bright and the picture is pretty, but if you walk very close to it, you might see cracks in the paint. You might see dirt that was painted over. You might see that the picture is hiding something underneath. This is the story of Meghan Markle. To the world, she looked like a dream come true for Prince Harry. She was the American actress who stole the prince's heart. But there are people who say that this fairy tale is actually a cover for a much darker story. They say that if you look behind the curtain, you will find secrets that were never meant to be told. You will find a past that was carefully erased. And you will find that the new Duchess might be wearing a mask to hide who she really used to be. They say that the people who know your past are the most dangerous people in your life. Why? Because they know the truth. They know who you were before you became famous. For Meghan Markle, that person is a man named Trevor Engelson. You might not know his name, but he was a huge part of her life. He was a Hollywood producer, and he was the man Meghan married long before she ever thought about living in a castle. They were husband and wife. But when their marriage ended, Trevor didn't just leave with a sad heart. He left with memories. He left with stories. He knew a version of Meghan that the rest of the world never got to see. Trevor knew the Meghan from before the cameras and the royal guards. And according to people who whisper secrets in Hollywood, Trevor has stories that could change everything. One of these stories is about a single night in the year 2016. It happened in the city of Toronto. This was a night that could have ruined Meghan's chance to become a princess before it even started. It was a night that was kept very, very secret. There were no stories in the newspaper about it. There were no police reports written down. There was no proof left behind for anyone to find. It was like it never happened. But now people are starting to talk. They say that behind the fancy image of the Duchess, there is the woman Trevor once knew. This woman was a planner. She was a supplier. She was the person who could keep a wild party going all night long. Our story really starts in Toronto in 2016. Meghan Markle was very close to becoming a part of the royal family. It was like a dream. Prince Harry had just flown all the way to Canada to see her. He was trying to sneak away from the people at the palace who watched his every move. It was supposed to be a quiet visit. It was supposed to be just the two of them, having a nice, private time together. If you looked at it from the outside, it looked like a sweet romance. It looked like two people falling in love in secret, but people who were there say something very different happened. They say that night was not innocent at all. Sources tell us that Meghan wasn't just hanging out with Harry. They claim she was organizing a special kind of party. In the nightlife world of Toronto, they called this a run. This is a simple word, but it means something serious. It didn't mean they were going for a jog. It didn't mean they were having a quiet dinner with a glass of water. It meant they were looking for wild fun. It meant doing things that are not allowed. It meant using dangerous substances. It meant stepping into a dark world that Prince Harry should have stayed far away from. Then there was a name that shocked everyone. Princess Eugenie. She is Harry's own cousin. People say her name was part of the plans for that night. We do not know for sure if she knew what was going on. We don't know if she did anything wrong, but just hearing her name connected to this night made people's jaws drop in surprise. This was very dangerous. If just one thing went wrong, it would have been a disaster. One bad headline in the newspaper could have destroyed Harry and Meghan's relationship. Even worse, it could have embarrassed the entire royal family in front of the whole world. People whisper that something did go wrong that night. They say it was a close call. That means they almost got caught. It was a very risky moment. If the secret had leaked out then, Meghan and Harry's love story might have ended right there. But it didn't end. Why? Because the story was buried deep underground. There were no police coming to arrest anyone. There were no scandals on the TV news. The morning papers were empty. There was only silence. In stories like this, silence is very loud. It means someone worked hard to keep it quiet. Insiders claim that very powerful people stepped in to help. They pulled strings. Pulling strings means using your power and friends to fix a problem. These people acted fast. The palace had too much to lose. Prince Harry's reputation was already a bit shaky. Meghan was just starting to become famous, and having Princess Eugenie's name involved was just too risky. They had to cover it up. A cover-up is when you hide the truth to protect someone. What could have been a huge public mess, with flashing camera lights and shameful photos, was erased overnight. This kind of erasing doesn't happen by accident. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of power. And it takes people working quietly in the background to make sure no one finds out. Standing in the middle of all this chaos was Meghan Markle. Sources say she was very calm. She didn't panic. They say she was shockingly good at handling the night. She knew how to keep the party going, and she knew how to keep it quiet. To understand how Meghan could handle a crazy night like that so easily, you have to understand the world she was living in. Toronto wasn't just the city where she acted in her TV show, Suits. It was the place where she built a second life. This life was hidden from the cameras. It was hidden from her family back home. This secret world happened at a place called Soho House. This wasn't a boring club for old kings and queens. It was a playground for the rich and cool people. It was a place where powerful people came to have wild fun. On the outside, it looked like people drinking wine and laughing, but behind closed doors, insiders say it was different. The menu was much sharper. They say cocaine was brought in secretly. It was arranged without anyone asking questions. And Meghan wasn't just standing there watching. People who partied with her say she was the connector. A connector is someone who connects people to what they want. She was the person people trusted when the party needed energy. She didn't just know who wanted the bad stuff. She knew how to get it. She knew how much to get. And she knew how to make sure it arrived without anyone noticing. Her value to these rich people wasn't just that she was pretty or charming. It was her access. Access means she could open doors that were closed to others. People remembered her as the person who made the party possible. She was a woman who could make other people feel safe, even when they were breaking the rules. Once you understand this about her, the rumors about the Toronto incident make more sense. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was a peek at the real Meghan. This was the Meghan who lived behind the nice quotes on Instagram. This was the Meghan who lived behind the speeches about helping the poor. This was the Meghan that Trevor Engelson knew very well. Before Toronto and before Harry, there was Trevor. He was her first husband. He thought he was marrying a fun, free-spirited actress. They had a wedding in Jamaica in 2011. It was supposed to be a fun beach vacation, but instead, it showed everyone who Meghan really was. Guests who went to that wedding still talk about it today. They don't talk about the promises she made. They don't talk about the beautiful ocean. They don't talk about true love. What they remember is Meghan sitting down and rolling over 100 joints. A joint is a cigarette made of marijuana. She rolled 100 of them. That is a huge amount. It wasn't just a quick joke. It was like a job. It was an organized effort. She wanted to make sure the party had a certain mood. She wanted to make sure everyone had what they needed to get high. At that time, people laughed about it. They thought it was funny. They said, "Oh, Meghan is so relaxed and fun." But now, when you look at that wedding along with the stories from Toronto, it looks different. It doesn't look like a funny story anymore. It looks like a pattern. A pattern is something that happens over and over again. Meghan wasn't just joining in the fun. She was the one in charge of it. She was supplying the stuff. She was directing the mood. She was the boss of the party. Trevor saw all of this. He didn't just marry Meghan. He married the version of her that knew exactly how to run a wild night and make sure no one forgot it. This wasn't just one thing she did. Meghan was good at something very difficult. She lived several lives at the same time. To her friends in Hollywood, she was the hardworking actress running to auditions and dreaming big. To her family, she was the perfect daughter who looked fancy. To Prince Harry, she was the sweet partner who listened to his problems and made him feel safe. But in Toronto, with the Soho House crowd, she was totally different. She was loud. She was confident. Sources say she didn't blink when illegal drugs were put on the table. She was the one who made everyone feel like the night would never end because she had the keys to whatever they needed. The smartest part of this was how she kept these worlds apart. Meghan could show just enough of herself to make people think they knew her, but she never let the different groups meet. She never let the different versions of herself mix. That wasn't an accident. That was a skill. It was how she survived. And that is why the night in Toronto in 2016 was so believable to the people involved. Meghan had always been the person who could walk into a room and become exactly who she needed to be. When Meghan met Prince Harry, she didn't need to act innocent. Harry already had a reputation. He was known as the Wild Prince. There were photos of him partying in Vegas. There were stories about him staying up late and doing crazy things. He knew what scandal felt like. He didn't need someone to make him boring. He needed someone who could keep up with him. Maybe he even needed someone who could lead him. And that is exactly what Meghan gave him. According to people close to that group, she gave Harry something he couldn't get at the palace. She gave him freedom. She gave him the freedom to have wild fun without getting in trouble. She gave him the freedom to step into the dark shadows without worrying that someone would tell on him. Meghan knew how to make wild fun safe. She knew how to hide the mess. Harry grew up with cameras in his face all the time. He always had people telling him what to do. So finding someone who could keep his secrets was amazing to him. It was intoxicating. Meghan wasn't just his girlfriend. She became the one person who could see his dark side and not run away. She was the one person who could control it and manage it. This is why they fell in love so fast. It felt intense, but underneath the romance was a strategy. Meghan offered Harry the one thing he wanted most, secrecy. That made her more than just a partner. It made her essential. He felt like he needed her to survive. Every legend leaves clues behind. Meghan's clues weren't just in the whispered stories. They were right on her face. If you look at old photos of Meghan, she looks different. Her face was softer and rounder. Her nose looked like her mother's nose. It was wide and familiar. But as Meghan got more famous, her face changed. Her angles got sharper. Her nose got thinner. The bridge of her nose became narrow. The official story is simple. People say she had cosmetic surgery to look better for Hollywood. That is normal for actresses, but sources from her Toronto years say something darker. They say that doing too much cocaine can hurt your nose. It can eat away the inside of your nose. If that happens, surgery isn't just about looking pretty. It is about fixing the damage. It becomes about survival. According to these rumors, Meghan's surgeries weren't just beauty upgrades. They were repairs. They were cover-ups. They were a way to erase the proof of a lifestyle she wanted to hide. Each time she got surgery, it wasn't just a new look. It was like burying the person she used to be. If you line up the photos from over the years, you don't just see a woman trying to be perfect. You see someone rewriting her face to hide her past. But Meghan didn't just erase her face, she erased her whole life. Sources say that her friends from Toronto disappeared. One day they were partying with her and the next day they were gone. Friends she had known since college were replaced by new, famous friends. Even her family was cut off. She created silence where there used to be relationships. This wasn't just changing. This was a plan. It was a cycle. Build a life, erase it. Build a new one, erase it again. Each time she moved to a new world, she burned the bridge behind her so no one could follow. By the time rumors about her wild past started to come out, Meghan could just shrug. She could say, "That's not me." And in a way, she was right. That version of Meghan didn't exist anymore. She had deleted her. Trevor Engelson saw this happen with his own eyes. He was erased too. He wasn't just an ex-husband. He was a witness. He was a witness to the Meghan who planned parties and provided things that people only whisper about. By cutting him out, Meghan made sure no one could put the puzzle pieces of her past back together. But you can't hide cracks forever. Over time, Meghan's perfect story started to show holes. In one interview, she said she never Googled Prince Harry before she met him. She acted like she didn't know who he was. But in another interview, she talked about things he liked in great detail. It sounded like she had studied him. She claimed she was trapped in the UK and couldn't leave the house. But records show she was traveling all the time. She went to Italy, Amsterdam, and New York. Then there was the mystery about her son, Archie. When he was born, usually the parents show the birth certificate. But Meghan refused to show the full paper. This made people wonder why. Why did the secret matter so much? Rumors even started that her own birth year might be wrong. In Hollywood, lying about your age is normal, but for royalty, it is a very big deal. Even the palace seemed to step back from her story. At first, her official biography said she was a scholar. It said she was an expert at university and spoke many languages. Then, quietly, all of that was deleted. The website changed. It just said, Meghan Markle, actress from Suits. For the royal palace, details are very important. They don't make mistakes like that. This change was on purpose. It was a quiet way of changing the story they had helped create. So who is Meghan Markle really? Is she the Hollywood actress who dreamed of doing good things? Is she the Duchess who walked into the castle while the world watched? Or is she the strategist that insiders talk about? Is she the supplier, the eraser, the master of changing masks? The evidence suggests she was never a woman who just got lucky. She was a woman who played a long game. A long game means planning for the future very carefully. She was someone who knew how to keep things in separate boxes. She knew how to control the story. She knew how to bury the truth under new versions of herself. She did it step by step. She did it nose job by nose job. She did it friend group by friend group. And that is why Meghan's story is still so interesting to the public. Because for every nice speech she gives, there is a whisper of what she did before. For every perfect photo, there is a shadow just outside the picture. Trevor's memory of the joints in Jamaica points to the truth. The whispers about the Toronto night in 2016 point to the truth. The faces of friends she erased point to the truth. They all say the same scary thing. Meghan Markle built her legend on purpose. It wasn't luck. It was design. The most haunting part of this story is not what we know. It is what we don't know. This story only scratches the surface. The real question isn't about what she has already hidden. The real question is what is still out there? What secrets are waiting to be found? Because Meghan Markle stays the same. She is a woman behind a mask. She smiles in the bright lights, but the real story is still unfinished, lingering in the dark shadows where no one can see.